That's that's really cool.
Hello, hello. We should start like every live with like a song.
A a song you want to
A
start
song.
off? Are you gonna sing?
No. Hi, Eric from New York.
Hey, Bradley from Hawaii. What's up, y'all? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Hump Day. Hope
Hello.
your week is going well. Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered series. You got your boy Pavel.
And you got all that piece. I was like, what is he
Um,
pulling out?
no, no, no. Literally just water. Um, what's up with y'all though? Like, who else is in here? Let me know where y'all tuning in from. What's up, Eric? Odalys, do you want to kick us off on just what is good in your life? Like, what have you been
What
up
is
to?
good? What is good in my life? A lot of things are good in my life. But I will say I've been recently have been doing a lot of speaking engagements and signing up for a lot more. Um, Aloha from Hawaii, Bradley. And hi, Mariana.
Hey,
Good to see
Mariana
you.
from LA. Hey.
Ew. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of really cool speaking engagements, working and just set up a meeting with the Boys and Girls Club, working with their teen sector, which is kind of dope. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of just small things here and there and finding the balance of it all. And funny enough, because you're talking about what the fuck is I recently had an event where it was like 9,000 students on this call, and it was really, or not call, I should say event. Um, and someone asked me, they're like, as a content creator, are you scared of AI? Like, how do you see AI affecting your job? And I was like, I'm not scared of AI. I'm actually really excited about AI as a content creator because it gives me more time to do other things. And I know you might feel like that as a content creator because one of the things for me is like creating content, it has to come from a place of inspiration. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm not inspired, sometimes I'm really tired and I'm like I just want to watch Netflix and chill and I don't want to do anything. um but I've been using AI to get me started in that inspiration, and it's not like I post the whole AI post. I use AI to help me come up with an idea, and then I can like add in my own voice. But it was an interesting question from a student because I mean students are thinking about this. They're going to school in the era of AI.
And
But
you said this is Boys and Girls Club, or did you say Boy Scouts?
no, neither. I'm doing an event separately with Boys and Girls Club, but this event was it was oh my god, I forgot the organization name. I'm going to get it wrong. But it was an organization that helps not college students, high school students from all over the globe that come from underserved communities. So there was
Oh.
9,000 students, high school students on this call. And high school students are like, are you scared of AI? Like, how you feeling about it? Because they're going to school. I can't even imagine going to school in this time where like there's so much access to resources like AI. It's wild.
Interesting. And my bad. I must have like Girl Scout cookies on my mind because that's what I heard. I just heard Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. But that's really interesting, and I don't know why it makes me feel like we got to keep up with this stuff because if not, we're gonna become our parents that don't know how to like use the Wi-Fi, and
Yeah.
like we're gonna have to call like
Oh
our nephews and kids
no.
are like,
No,
"Yo, can you figure
no.
this out for me?" Like I can't be that person. I can't be that.
Don't say that. Don't make us old. Don't make us old. But we do have to keep up 100%.
We do, and that's
100%.
why I'm excited for this chat as well. Also, shout out to everybody in here: Milwaukee, Texas, DC, Miami. Look at Rome over here talking about he's from New York, from the 212 with a 347 number. I feel you. I also have a 347 number.
Oh, is that a New
Girl
York
Scout.
number?
That's a New York. That's a New York number. They 212 is like really difficult to get these days.
Oh. Oh, is that
Yeah.
like a higher class type of thing or like
No, it just goes into like how old were you? How old are you? Because like you had to like be grandfathered into that. Like you can't just get that these days. Yeah,
I'm dead. I'm dead. What's
yeah.
good in your
But
life, Abel? Tell me. Tell me what's good in
what
your life.
Well, I think it's fascinating that you mentioned students because I'm actually also booking speaking engagements, and now I'm expanding into like academic institutions. So
Mm.
now talking about redefining professionalism, what's acceptable, authenticity in the workplace, and I'm sure that that's a topic that's going to come up as I engage with more students. That plus, I'm working on this wellness app where we should have a working prototype probably within the next few weeks. Or I'm sorry, like within like the next month or so. And part of that app, a big part of that app is going to be utilizing AI to make it a more just like a greater experience. And I don't want to get too into details, but we can like tease it out a little bit. Um, but I think there's just like so much potential with it. And it's just like, where do we use it versus where do we use a human? Right.
Mm.
So that's really interesting and exciting as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I want to talk more about the app, but we'll stick to AI.
Yeah. Well, I think AI is funny too because whenever we talk about it, it feels like, yo, damn, like another word that I have to. It's like, is this another jargon word that I just have to like learn about? And when
Yeah.
you and me, when you and I were like joking about this, we were like, yo, remember when we were in college, like the word that was thrown out there was like the Internet of Things, IoT, or like
Yes.
what other things before AI were you just like, what the fuck is this?
Oh my God. So I remember my first post college internship was this like deep tech, like working with Intel. And I like I didn't really understand like how technology actually worked. And I didn't even know, if I'm being real honest, that I was going to school in the heart of Silicon Valley. Like I didn't know what Silicon Valley meant. I just thought, oh, that's the name of the city. Like I'm going to the heart of Silicon Valley. But I didn't realize that there was all this deep tech around. So when I was learning about my clients, I mean, yeah, I learned all those like machine learning and automated
Machine
driving.
learning.
Yeah, machine learning
Yeah.
and data centers and chips and IoT. And I was like, you know, that gif of like the math, like
Yeah.
he's just like mad confused. That was me. Like, I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what am I writing about? Like, I don't know what this is. And I remember asking so many questions, and I feel like I kind of understood like the bare minimum, but I ended up leaving that job, y'all, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't understand this deep tech stuff. And then when you and I were talking about it, didn't we like ask AI, like, what is machine learning?
Yeah, well, that's the interesting part too. Well, I'm curious for y'all, for those in the audience, like, what are some of those jargony words that when y'all started working, you were just like, what the fuck is this? Um, but it's interesting when you and I were talking about this conversation, and I was like, yo, machine learning and AI, like, what the hell is the difference? And I automatically went into Chat GPT and
Mm,
asked the AI, what does it mean? And you were like, yo, that's so interesting. Like, why didn't you Google it?
yes.
And even that is a mindset change, right? And I think Google is experiencing a lot of challenges that they've admitted. They were like, we've developed our whole company around search, right? And when you search something, it's literally a bunch of different people or publications or sources giving you opinions as to what the difference is, right? With
Mm,
AI or like these tools that are now being created like ChatGPT, you don't get a bunch of sources. It's literally like this is the answer, which is just like a
yeah.
very fundamental just change on how we even look up information.
It's kind of it's so many thoughts,
She's
so many
like,
thoughts, so many thoughts. It's kind of insane though if you really think about it. Like Google, I think, gives you a lot of resources for you to make that that like decision. Like this is what is real, this is what is not real. Whereas
right.
AI is like, fuck whatever you think is real or not real. This is the real answer, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I almost wonder, I don't know if we tried this, but I almost wonder if we were to ask it the same question, you and I, if it would output the same answer. Cause you know, like Google, there
Mm,
was like this whole case of like, depending where you were, they were like kind of like changing the algorithm based on like what you look at, where you are. Like there's all these other factors. Like I wonder if AI works the same.
Yes. And I think that's probably a good time to bring up just like what some of these technologies mean. So when I did ask, so you I think what you're bringing up is like personalization, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
has been around forever. Like if I go on Instagram versus you go on Instagram, completely different
Yeah.
experience, right? If you go
Right.
on I don't know, fortune.com and I go on fortune.com, like we may get different experiences as well.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. So like this technology of like personalization and giving us what we're looking for and trying to figure out what we're looking for and giving us that, like some of this technology has been around for a while, but like let's define some of these things. Because when I did
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT what is AI versus machine learning, they gave me a definition and I was like, break this down as if I was a third grader. So this is what they said. They said artificial intelligence, AI, is the overall idea of creating smart machines that can do things that normally require human intelligence. So AI is smart machines that can do things that normally require human intelligence. Now, machine learning is a specific part within AI that teaches those smart machines to learn from the data without being explicitly told what to do. So in that personalization
Mm.
aspect, that's sort of like where that machine learning is. Like it needs to get the data to learn and figure out how to, give you what you're looking for. It went into more detail, but like that's a high level understanding of it as well.
That's the Pavel notes
That's
for
the
this
Pavel
podcast.
notes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, it's interesting as we think about like these technologies because I feel like I mean, I'm a little younger than you,
Mm,
Pavel, but like I
this one too.
feel
You see what Eric said?
oh, Google Hands. Oh, yeah. Google hands you directions to go find it yourself, and ChatGPT explains to you the answer. Yes. Um, it's interesting because I feel like I always loved being a millennial because I feel like we grew up in an era where there was pre-technology and we saw like kind of the evolution of the early phases. Even when it comes to phones, like I love thinking back to the different types of phones that I had, like from the flip phone. I had a razor, a pink razor to be exact, and I thought I was popping.
You were
Um,
popping.
you know, but like we had all these flip phones and we saw the evolution of just the phone, and then iPhone came, and then et cetera, et cetera. And then like even just seeing the resistance of the older people in my family when there was like phones around. They're like, get off your phone, get off your phone. And then now being like, they love their phone and my mom is on Facebook all the time. You know what I mean? So I think like you see this evolution of technology and even the resistance. And I think AI has been around for like years. I mean, I was learning about AI early on, but even now, like there's so much resistance to it. And I just listened to a podcast this morning with teachers talking about how their students are all using AI to do their posts on like their assignments, their essays. And now teachers are feeling so much resistance where they literally tell their students, you will fail this class if you use chat gpt or if you use AI to come up with your essays. Which I think that's kind of like the opposite route to go to. I think there's a way where we just need to change our understanding of AI and learn how to use it in conjunction with what we already know. You feel me?
I 100% agree. I think it's really important to touch on that point around the fear and resistance that we naturally have as humans when it comes to technology. I mean, this has happened every single time. When the car came out, people were like, why would I use a car? Like, I love
Right.
my horse. Legit. People were like, what am I going to do with my horse? You know what I mean? Like, when the
Yeah.
iPhone came out, BlackBerry users were like, no, I love the buttons on my phone. Like, I don't want to touch. I don't want to have a touchscreen. Or why would I do that?
Mhm.
When people started buying wine on, like, buying things online, they were like, why the hell would I buy things online? Like, when I could just go into a store. There's
Yeah.
always been resistance to technology. I think Instagram is an interesting example, right? Because when Instagram came out, people were like, photographers are out of business. Get them out of
Yeah.
here. I have
Yeah.
filters. Like the technology on the phone is like good enough to be like an amazing camera. They were like, why the hell would I need a photographer? Photographers are out of business, and they're not
Yeah.
at all.
We really thought that. We really thought that.
Yeah, but like there's like levels to this shit, as Meek Mill would say. Just because
Yeah.
you can take a picture on your phone and it's still beautiful and it's still a certain thing, that's not taking away the level that a trained photographer with a specific type of camera and all this other shit can do, right? So like,
Yeah.
it didn't necessarily it didn't kill the photography industry. It just like
Yeah.
transforms it in a different way that they had to like rethink how they do things. So I think that teacher example is fascinating too. Like, yeah, like it's so interesting. And like that
It's
has the
so
applications,
interesting.
that even has the applications for work as well. Like
Yeah.
paying people versus, I think we had the conversation with like editors.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I work in the content business and I should maybe be fearful of like what AI can do, but there's something that I was listening to in the podcast is something that I've thought about when it comes to like jobs in the content market is like in the podcast they said the teacher was he knew every single time a student used chat gpt or ai to write because he was like there was something soulless about the way that they were writing like it felt like a robot wrote it and they were like when you read something you hear the tone, you hear the voice, you hear the person behind it, whether you're writing it in a super formal tone or informal, like you can always hear the student's or the person's voice, which is true. And that's something I love about content. Chat GBT and AI can maybe do that because I know you've been testing it out with like Cardi B's voice, but like even like the way that we write, like there's something special and personal about that like I don't maybe AI will get to a point where it can do that, but I think it still needs that human touch of making it relevant because it can only output what you give it, but it needs to add that sazon too.
See, that's what I thought initially when, and I'm not writing full on like 40-page papers, but even something as simple as like writing a caption. Oh, this is hilarious, by the way. It was a sidekick for me, and the two-way ringtone game was fire.
You know
Um,
what I used to do is a little charms on the phones. I think that was like a girl thing. Like I used to
no,
have a
yeah,
little
yeah.
charm. Did you have a charm too?
I did not have a charm though.
I was like, I don't know if y'all had charms, but Sidekick was like the bougie phone. I'm like, I begged my parents to give me a Sidekick, and they were like, nah.
I didn't have a sidekick either, but that should look fire though. I'm not gonna lie. I always
Yeah,
wanted
my
one.
brother got one, and then he broke up with his girlfriend, and he threw his phone because he was mad, and he broke his Sidekick. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing. Like, I would never break my Sidekick. I
Ye-
still have beef with him over that.
That's so funny. I love our just like side tangents. They're so random but so
Yeah,
funny.
sorry, we had to.
No. Lewis mentioned that there was a case where lawyers actually were using ChatGPT for their case,
Oh
but
wow.
apparently a bunch of like fake cases were cited. I mean, you mentioned this, Odalys, is like the technology is only as good as the data and information that it's like pulling from, right?
Right.
But when I started using AI tools for like social media captions, I was like, this shit is bland as F. Like, I need a little sprinkle of song in that bitch. And I started doing like, yo, rewrite this caption or this like video summary in the voice of Issa Rae. And then I was like, oh, this sounds like Issa Rae. And I was like, you know what? Rewrite this in the voice of Cardi B as if she was the author. I was like, yo, this sounds like Cardi B. But I put my name in, but like there's not enough information and content and all of those things in my voice for them to understand how to do that. But this is only gonna get better. Like imagine you get to the
Mm.
point where you could be like, yo, rewrite this as if Odalys wrote it.
I mean,
That is scary for that
shit.
teacher and the student.
That is scary. Oh, it's so scary. And I'm not trying to say I was like an early thought, but I kind of was. Like, I remember years ago saying the education system is going to change because there's
Mm,
so much access to information. And I thought, like my generation, like I thought millennials had a hella access to information because of social media, because of Google. But now it's like, I mean, it's getting better and better every freaking year. So I'm like, how is education going to keep up? Because these institutions are very old school, like a lot of them are. And how many of them are evolving with the market and how many of them are evolving with technology that's available now? Like my
yeah.
nephew in high school, he was like studying biotech. And I was like, oh, that's like a course in high school now. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm the first class to ever take the course and we're graduating. It's like a huge deal. But institutions, like, they need to start keeping up with this technology and like teaching these kids early on, like, it's not a bad thing to be resistant to technology, or it's not a bad thing to like technology or use it. It's just how you use it and how you integrate it in the education system.
Yeah. Well, what about you these days though? Like you're outside of the education system, but you have your own business and you have, your full-time job. Like are you using AI these days, and if so, how?
Man, I use AI all the time for my business, in just like everyday life. Like I've been using, if anyone's a Spotify user, there's an AI DJ. I use it all the time. He's so fire.
Yo, is AI DJ, see, this is my shit with AI. Is AI DJ just like a better like shuffle? And like
it totally is. Yeah.
or like is that just like rebranding? You know what I mean?
I mean, ooh, that's a great question and call out. Maybe. What I like about AI DJ is that it comes on and it tells you like, all right, well, you didn't like that song, so let me like, because I'd be skipping some songs. I'm like, I don't, that's not my style. But then he's like, okay, you didn't like that. Let me give you something else. And then like it almost like talks to you. It's like a conversation. It's a little weird. There was one point
Yeah.
where I was a little
I like the
scared
voice.
because
It's a cool voice too. I like it.
it's a cool voice. But at one point I got scared. I don't know if you've had this happen, but it was like, oh, I see that you're driving. So let me put on some like sing along driving tunes or something like that. And I was like, how did he know I'm driving?
You have to look around the car like who's in here?
Diosito? I,
Yo.
I don't know how he knew. I think I probably stopped using it for a few weeks there, but I picked it back up. But for me, in terms of my business, I use it for my captions. And funny enough, I've been testing this out. Um, for 2 weeks, I did AI captions for my Instagram, and my Instagram isn't always as popping as my LinkedIn. Shout out to LinkedIn, y'all love me. But my Instagram, I'm starting to build that platform, and I started to use AI generated captions, and of course, putting my voice and sazon to it. But it takes off a lot off my plate as a full time career woman too. Like there's a lot of just balance and time and energy. And so I started using AI captions and I realized I was getting a lot more engagement in my comments because I finally had time to put more thought or use AI to put more thought into my captions. And I think at one point someone commented, like, this caption is so fire. And I was like, thank you, AI. And I used it for 2 weeks straight and I got so much engagement. I'm testing it out this week and doing no AI and seeing the fluctuation of like engagement and just testing that out. But I think it gives you as a creator more leeway. And I think you and I are in a lucky position, and other creators who have been creating for a minute, because you already have that voice and that following and that content that just is so like people will recognize professionalism with you and Hella Latina with me. Like
Yeah.
it's a very we've like grounded ourselves in that brand and that market. And I
Yeah.
think AI is only helping us create more meaningful content. And it's just the way that we use it. So I've
So
been
so
using it a
you're
lot.
and let me get this straight. So you're using it like as like to create these ideas, but then you go back and read through it and we're like, that doesn't sound like me, and then you edit it and then
Yeah.
sort of post
Yeah.
it. So it's saving you, it's getting you more results. It's probably
Mm-hmm.
getting you more output faster, more efficient, and it's saving you time. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this brings up an interesting point, right? Um, around I have a 4.5 year old and I see how bored he's getting. Concerned that he'll grow up too fast. We have him in karate, swimming, soccer. Attention span is getting worse. And I think it's along those lines of like, all right, now you have all this free time. What the hell do you do with it? Do you work more? Do you create more output because that's the whole point of it? Or do you use that time for yourself? Like, I think that's what's kind of like happening, especially with kids. They're just bored because I finished all the things that I have to do so quickly.
Oh yeah, when it comes to kids, I mean, shout out to the parents. I was telling Pabel earlier, I have my nephews here and all they want to do is be on their phone or their little like Nintendo Switch all day every day. And I'm like, y'all need to go outside, go play some basketball or something. And we have like all the sports things around the house too. But like for kids, I think I think that's a different like way to think about technology because they are really growing up with an iPad and like a Nintendo Switch at their fingertips. Like they just have access to technology. And so I just shout out to whoever that made that comment. Shout out to you for putting your son or daughter or your kid in all those sports and all these different activities because I think that's just good for kids. When it comes to me, like I don't feel like I have more free time. I think I procrastinate less. Um, if I'm really being honest. And if I do have free time, I dedicate it to myself. Honestly, I find myself dedicating more time to other things versus sitting there in front of my phone or my laptop or my iPad and just being like, oh my God, what do I want to say in this caption? Or, like, what do I want to write? I find myself doing more promotion and thinking of more ways of like strategically, I'm like, how can I get more of this content out there? Like I find myself thinking about the bigger picture things versus procrastinating on one post, one caption.
Right. So you have more time to think.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I was talking to a few people and I know people that are using this like at their job. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say at their job, they're launching like this new internship program. And like, let's say I'm tasked with creating like the entire program. Like the interns are going to be here for the whole summer. That means I need to create like this week you're doing this week is that. Like what are the tangible things we want them to leave with, like a whole internship curriculum program, etc. This person that I was speaking to was like, I gave that shit to ChatGPT and they gave me everything from the speakers that I should like bring in to talk to these kids to the different workshops they should have to the template for the work. I'm talking everything, right? And something that would probably take this person like a month to do, they finished it in like 2 weeks, right? Now, the dilemma for this person was then, shit, do I tell my manager and my boss that I finished this in 2 weeks? Because then they're going to be like, oh, well, he's so efficient. Let me give him more work. Or do I just play dumb and be like, oh, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it until like that month comes around. I was like, hey, here you go. You know what I mean? I think it's a really interesting dilemma because from the business perspective, they're all about output, rightfully so, right? Like they want to maximize revenue and profits. But from like an individual standpoint, I think it's an interesting dilemma around, do you want to show that you're much more efficient? Because, you'll probably get recognized and promoted, but you are going to get additional work. I think that's interesting as well.
That is interesting. And I feel like there's power in like working with AI because I know there's some companies and some places, whether it's education or corporate, I think there's a lot of people meeting AI with resistance because of this very reason. They're like, well, what's the point of having someone there if AI can do it? And I'm sure this person, whoever it is, when they were ChatGPTing all this information, as a practitioner, they knew this is going to work in curriculum. This is not going to work. This speaker would be dope, but we don't have the budget. Like there needs to be this like human behind it to make sense of what they're outputting. And so even her job, like now she can focus on strategically, does this work? And for the business perspective, it may be cheaper because now they don't have to hire someone to create a curriculum or like run the curriculum. There can be a person doing both. I mean,
I think
go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, this is just it's just another tool that's going to help us be more efficient. And I think we need to look at it that way versus something that's going to take away our jobs. Like they still need the human touch, like, in my opinion.
I think this is a huge opportunity for the individuals to use this as a way to differentiate yourself, right? No matter what job you're in, there's somebody that you're like, yo, PowerPoint queen over there, killing it. Microsoft Excel queen. This person, fucking, I don't know, something tool king over here. Like you could be that person for these AI tools. And like, that's how you can use that technology to separate yourself and create like a personal brand within the organization. And then next thing you know, you're going to start training the entire company on how to use this and implement it to like do different things. Like it's a huge opportunity to not only do your work more efficiently, but use it as a way to differentiate yourself and be like, yo, that's that dude over there. Like he knows how to
Mm-hmm.
do this shit, and he's gonna train everyone else to do that shit. I even shared some of the AI tools that I was using for my podcast with the editor that I'm now using. And I was like, listen, I don't care what tool you use. I just want the best output. So I was like, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that as well. But like, I recently
Yeah.
hired someone to start editing my podcast. And for me, the way that I thought about it was like, well, I could use these AI tools to edit the podcast myself, and it's going to save me mad time. But like, I don't really want to. At some point, like I just don't want to do that. I want to focus on, to your point, like thinking about these bigger projects, these bigger things. So I was like,
Right.
hey, person that I hired, here's the tool that I use. If you want to use it, go for it. And it's probably going to save me time. So like, instead of giving me the podcast episode back in a week, and now she could give it back to me in like 2-3 days, which is a win for
Yeah.
me as a business owner. Like, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
changing the way that I pay her. Still paying her the same amount, because for me, I'm paying for the output. And for the individual, I'm sure it helps her because it makes her life easier.
Mm-hmm. And she could take on more clients, and she can use these resources for other things. Like
Yeah. I'm not going
there,
to work with her because there's this AI tool that I can use. Like, I still want
right.
to work with her, and now she's going to be more efficient with it.
But you see how AI can equal growth for your
Right.
business. Like I think corporations
For on both
systems need to,
businesses.
yeah, I mean, I think they really need to think about AI being a tool for growth. And I'll tell you this story. Like I went to a place in China where AI was like I feel like technology was so much more evolved out there, and it was very
Mm.
normal. It was normalized. I mean, like they weren't impressed by AI tools. Like this is just their everyday life. And I'm like, we need to get to that point where like technology is just part of everyday life. It's not met with resistance. Like there was a point where like the receptionist didn't like we didn't have the same language. There was a language barrier. And
Mm.
so when I had a question, he would pull out this little contraption and he would speak into it. It would translate it in the spot, and then it would like repeat it to me in English. And then I would talk into the little contraption, and then he would look at it, it would translate it, and also speak it in Chinese to him. And
Yo.
even that interaction, I'm like, this is so normal. He's just like, okay, I don't know how to speak English, so I'm just going to use my little tool. And like just the power of technology, the power of AI, the power of all these different machine learning, I would see like all these different terms, like there's a lot of power in it, but we just can't meet it with resistance all the time. And
Yo,
as I was listening,
you know how many future exes I could have bagged abroad if I had that
ah,
tool? Oh my god.
you're like,
When I
hold
went
up. Let me
when I
pull
went
up
to
my
Brazil, yo, I didn't have that. Never mind, just go for it. That's another day, another story.
You are so funny. That's actually a great tip. I'm going to Brazil soon. So I could pull up that little contraption. Same hotel though, same hotel. There was little like machine thing walking around. I thought it was like a vacuum, you know, those little Roombas. I thought it was that. No, it was like a server or whatever, but it was like going into like different rooms with us, like, do you need anything? I couldn't understand anything it was saying, but like it was basically saying, do you need anything? How can I help you? Do you want room service? Like it was offering up all these different things. And I'm just like, again, this is normal. People were just walking around like it was nothing. And I kept looking at it like, that's so cool. That's so cool. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
technology can be just so dope.
Uh,
Maria, yes, 90 Day Fiance.
90 Day Fiance. Also, we got mad questions, so I figured we could also like dive into
Let's
some of
do it.
these, or well, y'all let us know because there's either mad questions that we can dive into, or there are some tools that we've been like alluding to about AI that we can actually share our screens in some way and actually show you kind of like what we're talking about. So for now, maybe we answer a question and then we'll see kind of like what people want to
Yeah,
see.
sounds good.
All right. So Joelle says, got an immediate follow up to that. So around like writing it in ChatGPT, but then being like, yo, can you rewrite this in like Cardi B's voice? Do you think that would elevate the rising issues around what is considered authentic? Um, I have so many thoughts on LinkedIn and ghostwriting. Like, why is
Mm.
it okay for rappers to have ghostwriters? For Beyonce, listen, I'm here for the slander. Like, Beyonce don't write most of her records. Other people write her shit. Why is it okay for Beyonce to do it, but not ChatGPT to like write some of my LinkedIn content and me edit it with a low style song? I don't know. I don't see the
He
difference.
said, he said, I'm just trying to be Beyonce in these streets.
You said it, not me. I don't know. What do you think?
J. Cole doesn't use a ghostwriter, I have to say. He writes his own music, and that's why I love him.
No features.
Um, yeah, no, literally. But I will say, I mean, ghostwriting has existed forever. One of my first jobs was ghostwriting. And I was literally writing for like an executive.
Yeah.
And
Executives don't even write their they don't write their own emails.
no, yeah, newsflash, they don't write any of their own stuff. But it's, I mean, it's real. People, I think there's strengths and there's areas of improvement. Like I'm a writer by trade, but I think I'm not the perfect writer. There's definitely things that I need to research, and research isn't my favorite part of writing. So if I have ChatGPT giving me research on immigration in the US and giving me all this context, now I'm learning, and now I don't have to go search on Google and look up all this research, and I just eliminate that extra step. Now I'm
Yeah.
not saying that I don't ever research. Like I think that's the thing about AI. It's almost that same idea of like you want a slice of the cake and people think you want the whole cake. Like I think AI, it gives you something, but it's not like you're only relying on AI to produce. And like I think AI is a tool. Like an executive, the way I used to work with them is you would ghostwrite, you would give them something, and they would put their own spin on it. Sometimes they would go up on stage, not all executives, but sometimes executives would go off script and they would do their own thing because they feel the room, or they like have their own like things that they want to say. Like I think there's always that human touch and element that's important. Beyonce, yeah, she doesn't write all her own music, but she's there in the process and she's like, that doesn't sound like me, or oh, that's not my
Yeah.
style, or that's not my
Yeah.
rhythm. So authenticity is nothing more than just you being in the table too, and making sure that it's authentic to your voice and your style and your
Yeah.
how you approach music, writing, speeches,
Yeah.
etc.
And early on, Beyonce probably wrote a lot of her shit. And this is really important is like, let's say I write the same prompt into ChatGPT about a post about authenticity in the workplace as somebody else that hasn't built a brand around authenticity in the workplace. My shit is going to resonate more because people already associate that with me. So you got to put in a little bit of the work to like write your own shit at first to develop a personal brand. And now it may be a little bit easier when you can do some of those things. I'm getting an overwhelming request for tools.
Let's get it.
Should I start? Because I think a lot of your stuff is on mobile.
Yes. Well, you can start
Okay.
sharing, and I'll give you a quick tool that I use for my captions. I use Chatbox, which is only a mobile tool, so I can't share my screen and show y'all. But it's really cool. It has all these different like prompts, so you can write, I mean, essays, which I don't really share any essays, but there's all these different ways that you can write different things. But I use it for my captions. That's my favorite tool.
Nice. All right. Well, I got two tools for y'all that I think y'all are going to love. So video.ai is a tool that I was using for podcast content editing. So essentially you take an hour-long conversation that has been recorded. I upload it into this tool, and what they do is I'll just click on any of them. So this is this week's episode with Victor. What they do is they spit out a couple different things. So on YouTube, if you see a video, it's typically broken out into different chapters. They'll do that for me. So I don't have to be like, yo, what is minute 3 to 5? Already did it. Minute 3 to 5 is what does authenticity mean for you? Minute 5 to 13, we talk about being neurodivergent. What does it feel like? 13, it's about reading to your daughter. Now, see, this is the problem with some of these AI tools. They called him a black woman. No, he's not a black woman, black man, but you know, we're working on it. Minute 13 to 22, we talked about the journey to go into grad school and so on and so on, right? So these are like chapters, a little bit longer form content. Now, the shorts, these are like reels, TikTok type of videos where we talk, this is like a minute versus like 4 or 5 minutes, right? So the power of authenticity, and it's literally breaking out all of these clips. I'm talking about like 25 different clips that I can easily just go in, download, and upload into Instagram, TikTok. The crazy thing about some of these is, as well, is that, let's put like working on psychedelics, right? You go to edit and download, and it already has like all of these different templates for you. So there are some of these that I have already saved. So I just click on that. It's already formatted in the way that I want it. As well as you can go to like AI description, and they have different captions that you can start creating depending on what platform you want to create it on, right? So YouTube, it's going to be a little bit longer of a caption. This is crazy, y'all. I can't read the comments right now, but I hope people are going crazy.
Everyone's saying this is amazing.
All right. Thank you. So it'll create a caption for you, right? That's a little bit longer. Now I'm just going to go on Instagram just so you can see the difference. And then obviously it's a little bit shorter for Instagram. You know what I mean? So this tool is really, really dope. There's also like, you can resize this depending on what you want to post. So like something square, right? And it has different templates. You can also do like a full portrait mode so that it is only like me on the screen, all these pre-made templates. So that is one that's really, really amazing. Some use cases that I think this is also useful for besides podcasting. Imagine any long form conversation that you're having. Think a meeting. Let's just say you had an hour-long meeting with either your team or whoever it may be. Upload that entire thing, depending on what your rules are within your organization. Upload that entire thing to Video AI and just see like what kind of meeting notes you can start creating with some of these tools. I mean, again, think about any sort of like long-form conversation that you can have and what you can do in there. So yeah, there's one other tool that I think is like really interesting because a lot of people mentioned creativity, children, all of those kind of things. And I want to show you another one, but I'll pause and see if there are any questions though.
I'll just say that Pabel put me on this platform too, and it's changed. Someone said he changed my podcasting life. This is what I told him. I'm like, you just changed the game because now I'm producing videos and at a different level, different rate. And when it comes to, at least for me, the personalization and the authenticity, to someone's point, I think it was Joel, I changed all the branding to be the branding of my podcast. And the captions, of course, have my sazon and have a little bit of AI in there, but it has my sazon. So there's still pieces of the authenticity that are weaved in there. But the amount of time it cuts for Pabel and myself to like create these videos, on 10.
Yeah, and there's even like editors, because they're not going to get everything right. So if you see something that is wrong, it's very simple to just go in there and like fix any typos. So yeah, that's a tool that I highly, highly, highly recommend. Now, there's another one that is called Mid Journey, and you have to go through Discord to be able to use it. But think about if you're in ChatGPT, like everything is text based, right? Well, what if you want to be like, you want to create an image or design, right? So think about like people want to create logos. Is there a fee to use? I need to double check. I'm not sure, but if you just look up Video AI, they should give you options. I think there is like a free way to use it, but I pay for it because I use that shit all the time.
I pay for it too.
So let's say you're like launching a podcast and you're like, yo, I don't know what my cover art should be, but you have an idea in your head around like what it looks like. You can literally type out directions, be like, I want it to have this background. I want it to look like this, this, and that. There's a tool that will create images for you. And I didn't do this for art. You can do this for a logo. You can do this for like I took a picture of like my my office, and I was like, make this look modern, chic with these colors, and they'll give you like what the design of the room is going to look like. Let me give you an example. This shit is, I use this tool for fun, not even for work. I'm bored sometimes, and I'll literally use this tool for fun. Again, this is Mid Journey. Give you an example. black woman with dark skin, front facing the camera, cornrows. They got this wrong, but that's fine. Whatever. Diamond stud earrings, no tattoos, bright blue Cinderella gown in a coffee shop, staring down at her laptop, looking frustrated, artistic. Look at that.
Wild.
So this is part of an upcoming art series that I'm launching, that I'm just like playing around with different designs around like the idea of working from home, what is professionalism, all of those kind of things. But this was, so what they do is they give you 4 options. So these are the 4 options that they gave me. And then what you do is you can click on, and like the U stands for like, I don't know what the U stands for, but it's like make the picture larger. This one is like reshuffle. So like, I don't like any of these, do them again. Or you can say like, I really like version 1, but give me 4 more versions of version 1. Maybe it's a different dress, all of those kind of things. Let me give you some other examples of things that I was able to create with this as well. This one, I was like black woman, dark skin, front facing the camera, high fade haircut, right? So you can go into like this level of detail. Big hoop earrings, no tattoo, black t-shirt, all these kind of things. And then it'll give me these sort of images, right? There are other examples of, here we go. It's like black man, front facing camera with braids, working at a desk, sitting down at his laptop, looking disappointed, artistic. And it came up with like these sort of designs. So it's fire. This is what I do for fun, y'all. This is what I do for fun.
Pablo, did you see this comment from Sarah?
No, this is like the artist that draws out suspects based on the descriptions. You ain't lying. You ain't lying.
Right. That's interesting to think about. I wonder if they would ever consider using AI to draw out suspects.
It's not
I don't know.
beyond the realm of possibility. But yeah, there are people that use this to create logos and a bunch of other things. But yeah, I'll just scroll through in case any other comments come through. But like these are some of the things that I was working on.
I think you got some business already, Pabel. Someone said, "Can you create my logo in your spare time?"
Let's do it. Yeah.
No, these AI tools are fueguísimo. They're so dope.
Fueguísimo.
Fueguísimo.
What are some of the tools that y'all are using that like maybe we should know about, that other people should know about? Let's share amongst each other, because Odalys and I aren't the only ones using these tools, and I know that y'all could put everybody else on game.
Yeah. And speaking of the podcast game, because someone mentioned it, I use Riverside, which is where I record all of my podcasts. So instead of using Zoom, I use riverside.fm. And they have a really cool AI transcription. So it transcribes the whole entire podcast. So when I'm editing for clips and trying to pull clips, I can like literally highlight the part or the quote that I want to pull from, and then it'll pull that exact video out, and then it'll download it for me. So it's just another way that AI is just dope. I remember sometimes, because Pabel, I'm sure you go through this, like you have a conversation, you're trying to remember like, oh, this one part someone said, but you don't know when they said it. I try to write it down, but then I go to Riverside and I like type in the search bar authenticity when they're talking about it, and then it gives me all the different places where he talks about authenticity, and then I'm able to just highlight, download the clip, which is just fueguísimo, to use the same word.
Fueguísimo. That's the episode title, Fueguísimo.
Fueguísimo. Guau, as Maria said. So what's going to be the new term? Because, like my parents say googlearlo or googlealo, like if you want to Google something. So what's going to be the AI term for the viejitos?
I think like, because googlealo, I can't even say that shit, is derived from the company Google. So I think there's going to be one company that becomes that, like the company is going to become, it's going to move from a noun to a verb. And that's going to be like that.
Yeah. That's how you know. I wonder who's going to be.
Word. And this is an interesting question that came in. It was like, I think this is more like on the concerning side of things, which I get. It's like, all of this is cool, But what does it mean for photographers, models, artists, especially BIPOC professionals, similar to the
Mm-hmm.
Levi issue? Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of, I don't know if misuse is the right word, but I think there was like, I don't know if it was Levi, but there was a, like, instead of hiring black models, they created AI digital models of black
Yeah.
women, which is like unfortunate. Um, Especially for an organization, and I forget the one, but it's just like so much money. I think that comes down to like the right leadership, right? Because not even
Mm-hmm.
just AI, but there is so many tools that are meant for good, but in the wrong hands, it could be meant for something else and could be used for things that weren't necessarily what it's meant for. So I think that's when like the right leadership is needed, but it's also why we need to be involved in the conversations, why we need to be involved in the creation of some of these products and the development of some of these products and the use of some of these products, which is why we're having these conversations so that it's not other people putting our communities in the wrong positions. Like, let's use
Mm-hmm.
these tools to put our communities in the right position is how I think about it.
100%. I think when I saw the Levi issue and just all these other issues with BIPOC models, I'm like, man, some of these people who are racist will do anything to just not hire BIPOC
Mm,
communities.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I think it's racism, unconscious bias, it's all of it, it's ignorance. And I think to Babel's point, just to like bold and highlight it, like we just need to be in those spaces, and the leadership needs to do better in terms of educating themselves and hiring the right people. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Whole different
Agreed.
topic we could talk about.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time, so maybe let's not end on that. You want to end on a positive note? Like, all right,
Let's
what
do
are
it.
you what excites you the most about all of these things that we spoke about? Maybe that's a positive thing we can end on.
Well, I'm excited for everyone to use these tools that we were talking about, because, and I'm excited to like please follow up with us and let us know how you like some of these tools, and how, if there's any tools that come up. Oh my gosh, yes, I just watched Black Mirror on Netflix too. Babel, did you watch it?
I did.
Speaking of AI, like crazy, really
Are you talking about
educational.
the Streamberry episode?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Y'all, okay, add that to your toolkit. It's not really a tool, but it's just like a great episode that, to your point, is educational, disturbing, and entertaining.
Should
All of those
we do
things.
our next episode on that episode?
We should. No, because that episode, we can like break it down.
We
It's
could talk
kind of,
about a lot of different things. Yo,
so
done.
tune
You
in
see?
for
Look at
Unfiltered.
that. We're gonna talk about the
Strawberry
Oh my god, but what is it called though? It's
or Streamberry.
but it's like
It's
everyone
called
hates
Joan is
this person.
Awful. Joan is
Yeah.
Awful. Hmm.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Although
Salma
Odalys
Hayek.
is awful. Or
Rude.
probably whatever.
Both of us. But
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
we will talk about that. But I'm excited,
Yes.
mostly excited for all of y'all to use these tools and to keep seeing AI evolve and seeing how we can keep using it to our benefit, and to get more Black and Latino creators out there and our voices heard. Because I know some of us are working multiple jobs and trying to do this content thing on the side, or maybe we are full-time entrepreneurs and creators trying to get our name out there. So I'm just excited for all the possibilities for our community.
Yeah, I'm excited for our community to not be on the sidelines and just like watching all of these advances happen. Like, I want us to be involved. And I think
Yeah.
getting into it early, which is why we're having these conversations, is still early as hell, will enable us to put our communities and ourselves in the right positions to have a voice at the table with some of these decisions and some of these technologies that are being built. Like, I'm using AI in the app that I'm developing and that we'll be launching later this year. So hopefully I can be a voice within that space as well.
You will be manifesting it.
Appreciate you. Maybe you're not awful. Maybe it's Pavel is awful. Thank you.
Both of us. If it's gonna be one, it's both. It's both. But yeah, we're gonna do this episode on strawberry, whatever it's called. Yes, we talk about that episode.
Love it. Love it. All right, y'all. I think we did it.
I think we did it. It's so good hanging out with y'all. Y'all were a
So,
vibe. Always.
word. Peace.
Bye, y'all.